We did it. I'm stealing somebody else's show. I just had something that I wanted to work on, and I decided let's do it. I'm realizing why I don't understand why I'm on battery power. I would like the stream to work. So let me double check here. Look at the batteries going. Get power. There, that looks better. I heard a beep. And it looks like it says not charging. But it's plugged in. Okay, so that's good. So the whole idea that I had here today was I wanted to have an old repository, and I have this thing called Sneak that is looking at it, looking for problems, CVEs, etc. Anyways, I've kind of been ignoring them. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to rewrite this old just demo service that I had. It's 4 years old. So it's using really old versions of everything, and I'm going to upgrade it. So I'm not really going to like rebuild in place. I'm going to make a new repository. I'll archive the old one, and yeah, let's just see what that looks like. So I'm going to put on some music, and I hope it's not too much. But I'm just in one of those moods. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to create my project Maven Java. Let's use 266. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. And yeah, it's just an account service. I'm not going to put a name there because I'm going to do some other changes. So the old project, for those of you that want to follow along, is in here somewhere. It's public. I'm not ashamed. I'll say it's like 6, right? There it is. So this is what we're taking from. You can see I have the Sneak bot is looking at it. So we're going to try to redo this 4-year-old thing. We'll see how long it takes. But I'm going to look here at the dependencies. I got some not standard ones. Let's see what it looks like. And we'll go from there. I heard a beep, but I'm not sure where that beep came from. All right, off we go. So yeah, let's go back here. I definitely am going to do this. I'm going to add this for native because I'm just doing that, and we'll see what we get. I'm doing that on all my projects these days. I'm not going to use Lumba because we got records because we're using Java 17. I'm not going to use that. Should we do Spring Web or should we do the reactive web? Let's just think Spring Web for now. Because we're rebuilding something, and I don't think the other one is reactive. It was a Spring Data REST. So I think this is what I want. Spring Data REST repositories. Yeah. What else? I should do session, but I'm not going to because everyone didn't. No, none of that. None of that. I'm definitely going to do Spring Security. I'm going to do it this way. It's a resource server. And I shouldn't have to bring in the others. Let's keep going. It's not going to call out. JDBC. I am going to use Spring Data JPA. And also H2, I think, is the implementation that I used. So let's just do that first, and then we'll make adjustments later on if we have time. Let's see what else I was on here. Migration. I didn't do migrations. I don't believe I didn't. It's 4 years old. I could have. Be nice to add some caching, but we're gonna do let's get the MVP done first, and then we'll circle back. Always the actuator. Should be really fun just because. And we are doing REST docs. Nothing is working. You have a project time in it. Let's see. Anything else that I can think of? That is a lot of dependencies. Yes, thank you for joining. So that's a great, that's a great question. Let's take a look and see what they're all for. We'll talk about each of them. And I think that's all I'm going to do for now. So let's quick circle back. And I'm going to ask you, is the audio, is the music too loud? Audio look good? Delivering look okay? And thanks for joining. I appreciate it. I also am going to do these contracts. Could do test containers. So let's take a look and see what we have. So here, I have the verifier. I think I also have the stub runner and verifier. Stub runner and verifier. Stub runner and did I just find? Oh, sure did. So lots of dependencies. And yeah, let's look. What are they, right? So I'll repeat, like I'm grabbing this from a pre-existing project. So obviously you don't need all of these to get to an MVP, but because I'm taking an existing project and I'm going to basically try to rewrite it and redo what I did on the previous one, I'm going to kind of follow some of those examples, use the same set of tools. I did do the registry. But that was for that, so I don't think I need it. Data JPA, data REST, runners, OAuth2. I did Spring REST docs mock MVC. I think I'll get that. Spring security data, Spring security test, meeting. That was a little stuff that I was doing. I don't think I need to do. And I think the rest will do all right. This Ask Doctor we'll take a look at. So yeah, that's the old project that, the sneak bot was telling me, hey, you got vulnerabilities. You should probably fix those. And it's old. So with the new project, let's take a look. So Spring Native is a tool that's going to allow me. Oh, so you can't hear me. Is it better? Saranya, I hope I said that right. Can you hear me now? I like the music. It kind of helps me. Maybe it's a metronome, keeps me on pace. But let me know if that's better. The other thing is my fan is going really, really loud. So I kind of wanted the music to at least cover up the sound of my fan on my laptop. So let me know if that's any better. All right. Excellent round. Thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate that. So first question I'm going to scoot back is like, hey, what are all these dependencies? Like I want to start a project. Do I have to remember all these dependencies in order to start a Spring project? I thought Spring was supposed to be easy. I thought it was supposed to be, easy to get started. So the first one is Spring Native, right? This is the project. This is the library, the dependency that lets me use the Gradle VM so that I can take my normal JVM output, my bytecode output, and I can actually compile it down into native bytecode or native binary. So I'll get a smaller footprint. There will be no JVM. So with that, you kind of are trading off some things. But it allows me to have a smaller natively compiled application, but it runs just like the JVM version of the application. So what that's going to do, again, there's some trade-offs, but one of them is a smaller footprint. The other one is a faster startup time. But then also, I've got pipelines that I can have different architectures. I can compile for different architectures because of the Gradle VM and what it provides. And when I say architecture, I mean CPU architecture. So I like to do stuff on Raspberry Pis, and this is going to allow me to compile a Spring REST service down into a binary executable that's small enough to run on even the smallest Raspberry Pi that's only got 512 megs of memory. So again, passion project, but that's why I added that one that's not in the existing or the previous one, and that's new. That wasn't there 4 years ago. Spring Web, that's how we're going to do our RESTful services. And the thing is, actually, I don't even think I need that. I think I get everything I need from the REST repositories. I'm going to just peek. I don't think I need web. I'm not going to see. Yeah, I don't think I need that. So let me take that out. And that's as easy as here. I am going to do an OAuth 2 resource server. So what this REST repositories is giving me all of those out of the box. If you're going to do a REST API out of the box, helps configuring, setting up those, gives me the REST controllers, and yeah, it allows also the easy integration between those REST repositories for the API. The OAuth 2 resource server is the security on top. Spring Data JPA is how I'm going to access the data. In this case, I'm using H2, which is a relational database that can be ran in memory, but it allows me to use Spring Data JPA. There's the in-memory H2 database. Spring Boot Actuator is the thing that changed my life. It's the thing that allows me to have confidence that it exposes the pieces that give me the confidence that things are running the way they should be in production. So kind of step one in what I need for observable production code. Spring REST docs, it's going to automatically set up, that's the goal, automatically create documentation for everything that I'm developing in this service. The config client is so I can get configs. Contract stub runner and the contract verifier, these are, I'm going to create some contracts that say, hey, if you are doing these things, you're meeting the API. It's going to be some validation, but it's going to create stubs so that if your project wants to consume this service that we're creating, your project doesn't need to stand up this service. Your project can take the stubs and validate. If you can run against the stubs, then you can run against the API that we're creating when it's in production. I've got opinions on that, but I still think it's a very, very valuable part of what we're doing. So this is what we're doing. We can take a look at the POM that we're going to generate. Everything looks good. Just doing a quick little scan. And yeah, we'll go. And we can make changes if we need to later. So I'm going to generate this. And it's in downloads. And let's go and load up. And we're going to move that to dev.shown service. And I'll probably create a repository for it on GitHub so that we can follow along. And again, we're trying to replace this previous one. So let's just make a new one. I should have used that one now. This is, again, part of the show is just kind of show how I do things too. Like this is just the way that I'm going to develop, whether I'm developing for a demo or for a project. It's public. Let's go ahead and add a readme. And go a little bit. Oh, better yet, we're just going to do this. Remove that one. Remove that one. And then do it like this way. Oops. Probably make that a little bit bigger so we can see. We're going to move that referee I'm going to clone the repository that I just made, because this is the way I normally do things. And then I'll go into there. And just downloading the project that I just built from start.screen.io. And cleaning up after myself. So now, this is the stuff that I got from start.screen.io. And now let's just open that up in my regular IntelliJ, my IDE. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. Some fun. My stuff. This one. All right, that's coming up. So thanks again for joining. We're just getting started. We're going to rebuild a service that I made 4 years ago. So where do we start? I don't want to dig too deep, but let's look and see what was I telling myself. Hey, it's just sample app, screen entity APA. Oh, I used a UUID for the entity ID instead of a regular long, which that just comes from paying over the years. The cost of creating a UUID far outweighed the cost, the performance, like the benefits that I got from using a UUID. Just my history. You can do whichever works, and I know there's everything's a negotiation. But I'm doing Spring Boot Security with Resource Server, Spring REST Docs with the ASCII Doctor extension, which I haven't done that in a long time, so this ought to be fun. But then we're going to generate stubs for Spring Cloud Contract. Okay. That sounds good. So yeah, so where do we start? Oops, let's get my ID up on the screen. So that's gonna load up, and yeah, hopefully we can do something. So let's see what we got. I do these default things. Oh, this looks good. I have an application properties. I got some tests. And yep. So what I should be able to do is, let's go take a look and see what are we working with. I'm just going to use the Git, not that one, this one, the GitHub repository. Let's go take a look and see what we have in there. I have some assembly, some ASCII doc stuff. Let's go look at the code. Some resources, some config. And then here, all right, let's go to domain. I have an account and a base entity. There's not a whole lot here. What is this? Oh. So this also had auditing on it, which that says, hey, as we're putting things into and out of this data source, we want to say, like, who did it? Who put it in there? When was it created? When was it modified? So that in every entity, in every table, we're going to have these additional columns. And yeah, depending on what you're working on, those are sometimes really, really valuable. So this ought to be interesting. I haven't done that in a long time either. So let's take a look. So the entity is super easy. Right? We didn't do anything. So what we can do first is let's just go create that. And I think I can just do that here. I can do it the same way, just for fun. It'll be easier. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna do it right here. So this is see. Let me make sure I got my my keys figured out. This one. Is that right? Okay, we're just pulling those things in. This one is also from persistence. Now this data is from Lombok. I don't think I want to bring in Lombok. What would that do? All that did was, does it get into settings? Do I want to convert this? Maybe I'll just bring in Lombok. But I don't want to. But we're going to do it just because I want to get through as much of this as possible. So let's go back here. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I changed my mind. I want to add Lombok. I click that here, and I'm just going to explore, and I'm going to copy paste that Lombok piece. And the cool part about it's going to do is it's going to grab the right version. Let's put it here. Cool. And it automatically grabs the right version. And that's one of the other nice things is all of my dependencies are managed for me. Like I can make sure that all of these are the right versions that work together because it is a root and an initializer. So we went back over here to account. So now I can go ahead and add that after my cache pulled in that new dependency. All right, that's cool. So now I've got a account, just a domain. I'm building this out slightly different. The next thing that I typically do, and we'll shoot back, is I think I typically would build the repository. Oh wait, we got to do that base entity. We should be able to grab the base entity too, right? Just because. Right. Now the entity listeners. All right, pulled everything in. Need to know what kind of date. Sure. I think I'm gonna use util date. Don't ask me why, but let's go look and see what I did before. I did use a util date. I don't remember why. But that's just one of those habits. Now I have a UUID pattern. Oh, this is a validation. So this is where that commons validation was coming into that. I was saying, hey, I want to make sure that what's going in here into this column is the created by and updated by. It's an actual UUID. So I think I got that over here. I saw it in the palm. I probably need a new version. There's probably this guy, commons validator. Let's take a look. I'm just going to bring it over. Let's see if we can get that. You know what I do? This is how I normally do. I go to Maven repository and I look for commons validator. And then I go, hey, 1.7 hasn't been updated since 2020. It makes me like, is there a replacement? I'll be either there's a string validator. I don't remember what the actual name of it is. All I'm doing is grabbing my dependencies. Is there a validation? Revalidation with validator? What is that? Sort of validation. I think that's the one that I want. So, but I'm not going to be able to use the same regular expressions. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to put that down here. Screen for validation. We want to keep that on the back burner. I'm going to bring this one in still, and then maybe we can change these guys later. my POM needs to get refreshed. I hit the button to refresh my Maven dependencies. And that's what it's doing down here. And yeah, we should be able to keep going. All right, these guys should be found. This validation regex is something that I made based on my Uuid pattern. So let's just create that real quick. Again, that's here. I said, hey, when I do this, here's the regex that I want. Source main. And you're like, Deshaun, you're not really doing anything. I get it. This is a project that existed that I'm trying to upgrade, but I'm trying to upgrade it in a way that I want to redo it instead of upgrading in place, because I want to archive this. I don't have that pipelines or any of that process for the go fast forever stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna redo it, and I'm redoing it this way. So we're just pulling in stuff, and we'll see here. I'm gonna build it, package it slightly different. So I have my domain. I did my validation regex, copied that. The next thing I do is typically the repository, and this is super simple, right? I have an interface here, account repository, that extends the JPA repository. This is what it's going to do. I don't think I need anything else there. Is that it? Let's in configuration. The resource server config. It's all into one file as practice. It works. We can do this with Java. But the idea, can't configure resource server, configure adapter. But this should be enable resource server, right? Because I have my resource server here. And why is that not? Oops, why is that not? Is it just at resource server? I'm gonna take a quick peek, and we'll go to the docs because that's what we do. Let's bring resource. I have another repository that has it, but I'm not going to use that one. Not that one either, so I want to find a. That one says enable resource server. Let's go with another project. I have another repository. I think that's all that I need. I think with do the login page first. Yeah, protected resource. REST controller. What did I say? Oh, that's it. Resource server. And I need to. I feel like I still need to. Let's find out for sure. David Kelly, thanks for joining. Appreciate you for showing up. I am just taking an old service and trying to upgrade it, update it, if you will, by bringing in that resource server. And apparently, I don't need that anymore because I have it in my class path. I don't need to add the enable resource server. Let's look at the other configs. I said, hey, you got to be authenticated. I don't even think I need this either. And then we said, this is the resource ID. So we want to make sure that when you're coming in, the only access that you have, your access includes access to this resource ID. But I think that this paradigm maybe has changed. So we're going to leave this out right now. We're going to leave that out. And I should get my my RESTful endpoints out of the box. Let's just see where we're at. I did get the Maven wrapper by default. Cross our fingers and just make sure that everything's installed. And yeah, and then we'll want to write some tests. I think would be the good next step. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything blatant. The fan, I'm starting to feel a little bit of heat coming off my laptop. I feel like maybe I overdid the laptop a few times too many over the last few weeks. But this is it. We just, all that we've done so far is we started from scratch. Oh, is it trying to build? Oh, it's trying to build a native build. Please hold. We want to turn that off by default. So down here in the build process, not that one, not that one. I like that it does the Ask the Doctor stuff by default. Over there. We're not going to do that. The native image. Wait. Yeah, we don't need the native image. So I should be good. Rebuild. Refresh. Let's go. All right, so question. What do Maven and Gradle do? Why are they needed? This is all about like automating the stuff that should be automated, making things simple. Maven and Gradle are just two examples of tools that can provide dependencies and a way to get at your dependencies. Back in the long ago, what we were doing was we were pulling in these resources as libraries, and those libraries lived with our code. But when those libraries changed, you didn't know where to go get their dependencies, and that mix and match of does library A work with library B, that became a nightmare. So one of the things that Maven has done and Gradle and Ivy is they set up a central repository, so you can go and have these libraries. So not every project needs to have all of the libraries pulled down, and I can show you what that looks like. So in this project, I think this is a good way to get at it. These external libraries. This shows all of those libraries. They would be packaged as jar files. All of the jar files that are needed to run this application. I don't want to deal with all that. I don't want to have copies of that in my code base. The simpler way is to have a POM file in this case that says, hey, these are my dependencies. But those dependencies also have dependencies, right? In that centralized repository, each one of these has their own dependencies. And I think I can show that over here. If I look at my Maven, one of these is going to be I wanted to see a dependency tree. Notice that one. There's a way of showing the dependency graph. But I don't know off the top of my head. But yeah, each of them have their own dependency as well. And Maven and Gradle and others, the framework that they set up is a way for us to, identify what we need and get the dependencies along with them. That's one part. The other part of it is the conventions around it. The commands that I ran, first of all, the commands that failed. I did Maven clean install. That's my default, what I automatically run all the time. And what that's going to do, it has these life cycles. I guess I can show that over here. These life cycles. So with clean is one. Because I did install, it's going to run all of these others, all the ones before it. It's going to validate it. It's going to compile it. It's going to run the tests, which I believe that's where it failed. It's going to package it up into a jar, verify that jar works, and then put that jar into my local repository. It's in a .m2, along with all the other dependencies that we saw. So let's take a look. Hopefully that answered the question. It's a way of simplifying. Before this, there was others in place. I used another tool called Ant that did a lot of the same things, but it had less of a convention. Even though it had this concept, you could build your own life cycles. The ones that you get with Maven and Gradle are, by convention, they're part of the framework. Whereas Ant, you're kind of building, you had a lot of flexibility to do your own install, validate, package, targets. So hopefully, but it's a great question. Hopefully that answered your question. These are just two tools that make doing Java development a little bit easier. It allows you to pull in the things that others have done for us, part of this open source world that we live in. Let others stand on their shoulders so we can do more, right? Otherwise, you would have been doing all of the dependency management, pulling all those things in yourself. So let's go take a look and see what we ran into. Hey, it said I can't run things. I can't load this context. No auto configure stub runner annotation found. Oh, so this is what I was doing is tests. Okay, so I think I have that solved. On the test side, when it's trying to do its tests, let's go take a look at our test. And what I have over here, I gotta have these tests. So these are probably going to be a lot of changes. I think we can do all of this. We're going to take a look and see the difference. So it was on the test side because I have some dependencies. I think I don't think I have this anymore. See, it's been so long. But this is how we learn, right? Oops. This is how we learn. So I don't think I need this part. I'm going to figure out how. What is this? Sure. Let's see what we get. I don't think that solves the error. All I did was copy and paste, so I didn't really look at the error. It says, hey, I don't have any configure stub runner annotation, which I should have here on application tests. I should have a configure stub runner. And I got two options here. I can go and look to see if I did that. But again, this code's 4 years old, so I'm gonna go take a look and see what else we have in here. So it's using this Spring Runner, which I don't think we use anymore. It starts it up in a random port. And it's just trying to make sure that we are loading things, but I still don't think here that there's any stub runner. Oh, wait, maybe it's here. Nope. I'll keep on looking. just get familiar. And I did a bunch of this. This is a lot of extra work just to get code coverage. Again, just to have it. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So this is the repository test that does the REST docs. It did the mock-MVC, but it still doesn't have the stub. What I want is, well, let's do it this way. Okay, this is easy enough to do. We can go and find our stub runner, stub verifier. We can go comment that out. And we can know that that's the only thing that's a gap at the moment. But thank you. Feel free to ask questions. I am just showing you, hey, I want to take this old service that's running, I want to say like a Spring 1. Oh. Yeah, right. We don't need that. There's no reason to have that. So we're just going to upgrade it instead of doing it in place. We're just making a new copy and we're going to archive this guy. All right, so we did that. It's going auto configuring. But I still didn't do a whole lot. Let Spring do a lot of the work for me. All right, so my tests are still failing. Let's take a look and see what it says. Got nice output. Hey, no Spring config import. Oh, this is a new thing, and I'm not doing it automatically right now. And I think it's because of my properties. Let's go take a look. In source main or source test, I've got some resources here. I got properties in here. We could have some properties. So let's just copy those. We'll get this stuff out of the gate so that we're doing kind of the same thing. So in source test. Oh, I just noticed that it already put a so these are the exact same. Do not tell Josh. These are the exact same things that I had in the other project. What are the resources that I have there? Logstash test. This is just a way that I was cleaning up my code. It's cool to see some of these old practices that I'm out of practice with. That's why we're doing this. It was log that, right? Log back test. Just copy and paste it. I'm not doing anything fancy right here. I'm just making sure I've got properties. I don't think that Bootstrap, I don't think that this is actually supported any longer either. So anything that I want in here that was in Bootstrap from a long ago, I can do in my application. And I'm going to put it in here. And I'm just going to take a look and see if any of this is going to matter for what I'm planning on doing. Spring Cloud config enabled false. Right, that could all be in here. Override none. Yeah, this could all be in here. So I can just do this thing. But in this test, right, for my tests, these are the configs that are being used. It's got a key. That's funny that there's a key in there for test. It's just in test, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. All right. So, hey, thank you. I appreciate it. We're gonna keep on going. I still haven't done a whole lot yet. Right. All I'm doing is copying and pasting, trying to get a new version of this service up and running, and try to have some of the same features that the previous one did. So right now I'm trying to work through some of these test issues. But hopefully, yeah, maybe this helps. It's going. Oh, sorry that it's so slow. I really should get something different so that I can do the work and not slow down the stream, and maybe do the streaming on a different computer. That might be a good idea. My fans are blowing up. So this is still, I bet, the same. It says, hey, context load. It's failing. Why is it failing? Could be 100 reasons. Hey, make sure no auto configuration was found. Spring JPA open in view is enabled by default. Therefore, database queries must be maybe performed during view rendering. That doesn't tell me anything more. So I got a password. Okay, but the application failed. It said illegal argument exception, no autocomplete class. So it's probably one of these arguments. No. It's trying to, yeah, it's trying to import. It says, hey, I can't do that. No auto configuration class is found in meta inf spring factors. So this is something new, right? This is a convention change, something changed between the version. And again, we're jumping from 1.5 to 2.6. So we are expecting these things, but this is something that I'm not the only one doing this. And what I'm trying to do here is show that that's okay. We don't have to do it. We don't have to be afraid of this. This is work that somebody out there is doing right now. Somebody's been given that task of, hey, you got to go upgrade this this version, and I get it. So I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just peek at another service. Not that one, clearly. This one, and let's just see what those tests look like. I'm not gonna need a whole lot. Cool. I can do that. Right, just the simplest of simple. Let's just make sure that our context loads. That's basically back to what we had before. Before we ran into it was looking for an import, and I know that I've ran into this before. So this is just going to be an exercise, and let me remind myself the things that I need to do in order to get tests working, because the previous package did have good tests and those built-in stubs. So I'm reminding myself every rep counts. This is all practice, but we should be able to move forward here. Probably another good exercise would be to run the old project as it stands. Make sure those tests actually, of course, they do. That Python stuff, right? But yeah, there's a change in Spring Boot in the way that you set up your properties. Like I talked about, the Bootstrap is no longer part of it. But also, okay, so now our tests ran, but what, Deshaun? What did that really do? All it said was, I can start this application. All right, so here's another piece that I like to do is I want to, I gotta look because I don't remember it off the top of my head. I want to go into source and resources. I want to turn on this. I want to turn on the management endpoints by default. So I'm gonna go over here. So I'm gonna do it up here. Yep, because when I'm doing the running, I'm gonna rename this one to application.yaml. And these are the properties, the configs that I'm going to give to this application when I start it. I just said, okay, rename it. And I'll go back here just so that we're, again, I'm copying the project source, main, resources. That's one of those conventions. Hey, here's where all of our stuff is. I don't need that build. The bootstrap should just be the name. From memory, config.properties, there's nothing there. Logback access. Just give me the messages. Do I need that? It does JSON formatted logger, which that's kind of cool. Did I bring that in? Let's copy that. Anyways, logback. New file logback.xml. And the one thing that I noticed as I went through that real fast, the one thing I noticed here that had a Logstash encoder. And what that does is it converts all of my log output into JSON. And you're like, well, why would you want that? That's just adding more stuff into your logs. Well, in days past, I was sending all of my logs into a system that knew how to parse that JSON. So I could do a lot of really, really cool things with those logs. So I'm copying that over. I believe I'm going to need that logger as well. Let's grab the other logback access. This is the access logs. Copy, got it. Logback access.xml. Sure. But because I know that I needed that Logstash encoder, I know from memory that was in here, but it's not. So how did I do that? Let's see if it likes it. That's the only thing I changed. I added YAML that was empty and some logging changes. Shouldn't change anything. Hey, Spring AOT test code generation, Bootstrap code generator finished. So something failed. And it said, Logback XML is not supported yet. Okay, so I'll tell you which one I care about more. There we go. Hey, the other thing was the application. When it starts up, there was no other configs, right? There's nothing else that we had in our resources. So I would source main resources. There was no other information that we were passing in saying, hey, I want you to be configured this way. But we wanted the, this is why I was creating that file. I want to see those management endpoints. And in order to do that, I need to put in my application YAML. I need to say, hey, Spring Boot, when you start up, there's in the actuator. Remember, this is that production ready observability. I'm saying, hey, right now, I want all these enabled by default. And I want to be able to see them all the web endpoints, show them. So I'm going to read this again, and I'm going to go ahead and run it. My tests are working. I'm going to run this application locally. And what that means is all of this little code that we wrote and copied is just one file. This is what's going to run. And what I expect, you know what? I think there's another thing I need to. I mean that. There's one other thing I need because I saw it, not because I remember it. I need the enable JPA auditing. And that's it. I think that's all the things. So now we're going to do Maven Spring boot run. Again, all the dependencies, all the things that Maven provides, and all the things that Spring Boot provides. It also provides a server for me to run this locally. So it's doing a compile on the package, and it says, oh, I gotta have the config server. Because I set up the config client, because I set up this config client, Spring Boot Starter config. It should be in there, right here. Because I did this, it's saying, hey, tell me where your configs are. So I'm gonna comment that out. We'll circle back to that. The other option I could have done there is what I did on the test side. On the test side, I said Spring Cloud config enabled false. I could have done that, other than commenting out the dependency. So this is running. Now here's the cool thing. This application is running, and because I've got security enabled, this is my user password. So I can't do anything with this application. It's going to be running on local host 80. It's going to, hey, what's up? Who are you? I didn't create any users, so it created one for me because it's smart like that. So cool. I have some stuff, and it says I've got a profile. Profile. That's just the ref. That's where I'm at. But the thing I care about is actuator. I added the actuator endpoint or the dependency, and what that did was give me a bunch of these other pieces. The thing I want to look at here is I want to see health. Hey, it says I'm up. I wanted this to show the additional stuff. The other thing I want to show is the endpoints. Here's an actuator. Use. Oh, like, Sean, what is that? Well, out of the box, this is the stuff that our application is showing up. These are all the mappings that are available. So I want to take a look here. I got /star. I got error page servlet. I haven't done this in so long. Sure. Info. What I really wanted to see was my repository endpoints. I didn't set up any, and I know that I didn't set up any repository endpoints, but I feel like I should have had some. What's the URL? I don't know off the top of my head. So let's take a look. Oh, hold on a sec. I'm late for another meeting. Hold on. I want to get to a good point here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to go do my other meeting. And hopefully you guys come back. Come back for part 2 later. And with that, I'll just say, hey, thanks. But I'm going to pick up right where I left off when I come back. Thanks for stopping in. Hope to see you again soon.